In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to run and read means, mediums, and some volumetrics. They're all in a very similar menu, so I lumped them together. So when we were to, in dictionary search, when we look at these age breaks, what if we wanted to know an average? Well, it's a lot to go and manually calculate it. Fortunately, Simmons has made it relatively easy to run some of these numbers. So just as a quick reminder, a mean is an average. And so you add up all the numbers that people say divided by the total number of people, or a median, and a median would be the middlemost number. And so for a lot of demographic data, people tend to prefer median because you cut out the outliers and you get a more reliable number, but the study allows you to do both. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to demographics, and we're going to highlight, we're going to drop down age. So what we want to do is we want to find an exhaustive list if we want to know the average age of a consumer in this study. And we're going to go, so it starts at 18, and none of these are overlapping. And then we're going to highlight, we're going to shift and highlight. We're going to highlight this whole bunch of ages here. So this is pretty much covers everybody in the study falls in one of these categories. We're going to right click on it. It's going to bring up this menu. We're going to click functions. And in here is where we get access to some advanced features. So right now we're in the average tab. We'll talk a little bit more about count and volume a little bit later in some other tutorials. But what we can do is we can select mean or median. We're going to select median here. You can do the exact same thing for mean, and then we're going to say median age. And then we're going to move this to the rows, because what we're curious about is what's the median age of a energy drink user. So that has already been moved down there. We're going to close that. We can do the same thing for income. Really for anything that's numerical, we can do means and medians. So let's look here. Individual employment income. That's one way to look at income. There's also household income. So it really depends on who you're speaking to and what type of income information you're interested in getting. The trick here in terms of means and medium works exactly the same. So we're going to pick household income. Just know which one you're looking at. And we're going to, again, highlight an exhaustive list. So they break this out in a lot of different ways. But what we're going to look at is less than 5. So we're going to click this, and then all the way to 500 or more, shift, select, highlight everything, right click, functions, median, and then we're going to go median income. We're going to move this to the rows. We're going to close that out. We're going to come back to those in just a moment. I'm also going to show you that the study, in some questions, they'll ask people how many times they do a certain activity. How many beverages do you drink? How many times have you visited certain restaurants? And so we're going to look at the restaurants example. We're going to go to dining. I don't even know where that is, but you look at dining, questions and answers. And let's see, entertainment and leisure, no, travel, oh boy. Let me actually just look in this list. Dining, here it is. Okay, and so we're gonna look at fast food and drive-in. And what we'll see here is you can look at breakfast, lunch, dinner, but then the number of visits in the last 30 days by brand in this example. And so you could find out the volumetrics or even the average visits by restaurant. But what we're going to do is we're going to do volumetrics. So we're going to look at the number of times that somebody in this study has visited a QSR restaurant in the last 30 days. And so we're going to highlight 30 or more all the way down to 0. We're going to right click, We're going to click functions, and we're going to look at volume, and we're going to go QSR visits, volumetric. Now we're going to add this to the rows. We could add it to the columns too, but this is actually going to give us data that we're curious among. So what volumetric is asking is the total number of visits that a particular target, or the value in the columns, the total number. And so if respondent 1 said 10, that they visited 10 QSR restaurants, and the respondent number 2 said 10, and respondent number 3 said 5, and that your sample size was those 3 people, then the volumetric result would be 25 visits. It'll give you the total number added up of volume among that particular audience. Okay, so now if we look in, so we see median age in our rows, median income, and then QSR visits, volumetric. We're gonna run this. Now, reading it, there's a little trick to reading it. So if we were to scroll down and we were to look at, for example, among Monster Energy drinkers, the way that you read the medians and the averages for these particular values is in the population size, it'll give you a number, 32. So the average person in this study is 47. This is the total column. The average Monster Energy drinker is 32. The average Red Bull drinker is 32. So not a big difference in age among energy drink drinkers. Energy drink drinkers are young here per the result. Now let's look at income. Income starts to show a little bit more. So this mean income is 70, but really what this is 70,000. 70,000, so 70K. So Monster Energy drinker makes 70K. This is interesting. A Red Bull sugar-free drinker makes 85K. Now what we can start to see is you go, Red Bull, so sugar-free Red Bull drinkers have a significantly higher income in this particular study. Now let's look at this. And so this is volumetric, and so 219,000, this is one where we are gonna add 3 zeros to this. And so Monster Energy drinkers visited QSR 219 million times. That shouldn't be a big surprise because there are 13 million people in the study, and people visit QSR quite often. So the total number of QSR visits among Monster Energy drinkers is 219 million total store visits in this study. 2 billion store visits in this study among the total adult sample. Now, how could you use that? You could say the average check for a QSR is, I don't know, $8. And then you could say that Monster Energy drinkers, you could multiply that 8, I made that number up, by the total number of visits, and you could say how much they are spending as an estimate on QSR, for example. Or you could figure out which audiences are attributing to more of your store visits. It would be really helpful if you're in the QSR business to see where a source of sales can come from. So that is how to run mean, median, and volumetric, and also how to read mean, median, and volumetric.